Hello Pokemon trainers, welcome back to another Pokemon Scarlet and Violet Battle Stadium Singles video here on iStarly TV, part of my Road to Master series where I try to climb the online ranked Battle Stadium Singles ladder. And today we have a brand new team, and this team is pretty interesting. As you might see, I did build this team myself, so not to toot my own horn, but basically, we're trying a bunch of new things here, as you can tell, and a lot of Pokemon that I would say are pretty off meta. So we are in Regulation D, full swing, and you can kind of get a feel for what is at the top of the meta right now. And I'm playing Pokemon, of course, as I said, that are not particularly meta. So I'm just going to go through the team here. I'm going to go a little out of order here because, I mean, the first Pokemon is Tauros, but I'll kind of explain that as I go. So apologies for kind of jumping around here. Of course, there is the team code if you want to try it yourself. And the premise of this team, if I'm being completely honest, was the Dragapult right there, number 3 on the team. Dragapult was one of the best Pokemon in Scarlet and Violet when the game first came out, when we had that kind of early meta before Paradox Pokemon and the Ruin Legends were available to use. And Dragapult is a really fast Pokemon. It's also really versatile because you can run it physical or special or kind of even as a support Pokemon. But that speed stat was the biggest reason to use it. And actually right now, given the prevalence of Fluttermane, Chien-Pao, and even Iron Bundle, I do think Dragapult might be in a solid spot because it still is the fastest Pokemon in the meta pretty much. Almost nothing in the game outspeeds it. I guess Electrode does, but Electrode is basically unplayable. So as far as Pokemon that you see frequently, it is the fastest Pokemon out there. And I wanted to try Terra Fighting. If you saw my last video, I had the Spectrier set with Terra Fighting because, of course, Ghost and Fighting complement each other really well. And Fighting is also just a really solid offensive type in the meta right now. So I decided to go Terra Fighting because I thought that it would be a pretty good surprise factor. And I am running a physical Dragapult with Terra Blast, of course, and Fighting complements both Dragon and Ghost really, really well. So, of course, we're running Dragon Darts. If we're running offensive physical Dragapult, you got to run Dragon Darts. It's a signature move, and it's pretty good. And then Phantom Force. Unfortunately, Dragapult doesn't have great Ghost-type physical coverage, and so we have to kind of use Phantom Force. Sometimes Phantom Force is really good because it's one of those moves where it takes a turn off, and then the second turn it does something. It's one of those moves where sometimes it's really good, and sometimes it's really awkward because it's very predictable. Like if I use Phantom Force the first turn, my opponent has the opportunity to switch into something that can take the hit better on the second turn. So it's very telegraphed, although there are not that many normal type Pokemon in the meta, so maybe that'll help. We do also have Dragon Dance to boost our stats, which is rarely used, but if in a situation where we expect to kind of force a switch, it can be nice to get up a Dragon Dance. And then we also have Life Orb. My typing is also good against a lot of the priority moves in the meta right now. Aqua Jet, Extreme Speed, as a Dragon type, I'm immune to Extreme Speed and I resist Aqua Jet. And then as far as Sucker Punch is concerned, if I Terrastalize, I will resist Sucker Punch. So pretty good stuff for Dragapult right now. It looks pretty good. I guess we'll go somewhat in order from here now. Next to Dragapult, we have Kleavor, which is a Pokemon that I've been wanting to use. It's really strong, it hits really hard, and its unique ability, well, I guess a few other Pokemon have it, but its ability Sharpness boosts the power of slashing moves. So its exclusive moves, Stone Axe, as well as X-Scissor, get boosted by Sharpness, which means they hit a lot harder. Stone Axe is 65 base power, which is not that good, but similar to Samurot's move that I used in one of my previous teams, Stone Axe will set up Stealth Rock whenever you use it. So it's actually a really good proactive way of getting off a lot of damage while also getting Stealth Rock on the field. Because I have some strong Pokemon like Dragapult and Regieleki, which we'll get to, that kind of do a lot of damage, but sometimes just need that extra little push to kind of finish off opponents. Getting off the Stealth Rock early is a great way to kind of get some damage on the opposing Pokemon. And it also hits really hard. X-Scissor hits really, really hard with a Sharpness boost. There are a lot of Dark types in the meta, so having this strong Bug type move to just kind of annihilate them is pretty good. Then we have Close Combat for coverage, and I also have Quick Attack because I'm running Focus Sash with Max Attack and an Adamant nature. So Kleavor's speed is not amazing, so a lot of Pokemon are going to be outspeeding me. So I figured if I can survive a hit with Focus Sash, get off a lot of damage with one of my moves, and then finish the opponent off with Quick Attack, that can be a pretty good turn of events for me. Then we have Cresselia. This is a Pokemon that I've been wanting to use just because it looks really, really good in general. This is max HP, max defense, and it's Calm Mind, Stored Power, which is a set that was really good in Sword and Shield, and I expect it to be just as good here in this meta. Of course, there are a lot of good dark types in Scarlet and Violet, as well as some really good ghost types. And so the typing that I found, the Terra type that I found to be almost perfect with Cresselia is actually Terra Poison. With Terra Poison, you actually, because we have the Levitate ability, which makes us immune to ground, we only have one weakness, which is Psychic. And Psychic is not a super common type. It does make us a little awkward against opposing Cresselias, but against everything else in the meta, we are likely to be able to take hits really, really well. If we can set up a few Calm Minds, we can take pretty much special hits from pretty much any non-Psychic Pokemon. And then Stored Power, of course, does a ton of damage once we set up enough Calm Minds. And then Moonblast is there to round out the coverage and hit dark types. So Cresselia is really, really good, and hopefully we can show that off. And the next Pokemon we have here is Regieleki. It looks kind of like a weird or interesting set. Honestly, I might want to go a little bit more offensive, but we will talk about it. Regieleki, I'm sorry, I actually said that Dragapult was the fastest Pokemon. I completely, I don't know how I forgot this, but I guess Regieleki is not super common, so maybe that's why. But Regieleki is the single fastest Pokemon in Pokemon history. It has, I believe, 200 base speed, which is just absolutely insane. Like, even with 0 speed investment, we are faster than everything in the meta. So with 0 speed EVs, we are still faster than Fluttermane, Chien-Pao, and even Dragapult. So what I like to do with Regieleki, because this was a Pokemon I loved using in Sword and Shield as well, is I actually have max HP and max special attack to hit as hard as possible and take hits as hard as possible, or as well as possible, as well as Assault Vest, which lets me take special hits pretty well with that max HP. So it gives me a lot of bulk that you're not used to seeing on Regieleki. And again, because we technically don't really need the speed investment, I figured I'd just put it somewhere else. Volt Switch and Thunderbolt, self-explanatory. I went Terra Water. Now, I could have gone Terra Ice. Ice actually has better coverage alongside Electric than Water does. And it hits Landorus harder, but Water is just a better defensive type overall. So I just kind of wanted to try that out. And Water also lets me hit ground types, which would otherwise, take advantage of Regieleki. So we'll see how it works. I love Regieleki, so hopefully it works pretty well. Then let's go back right to the top of the team here. We've got Tauros, Paldean Tauros, the fire breed, whatever it's called. And this is a set that I used a lot in previous seasons, and it's pretty good. And in this meta with Pokemon like Urshifu and even Chien-Pao, getting off Intimidate and also having a pretty solid typing is actually a pretty good spot to be in right now. My typing is great against Chien-Pao because I resist Ice and Dark. Against Dark Urshifu, same thing. I resist their Dark type moves. Of course, against Water Urshifu, I will struggle a lot more, but even getting off an Intimidate against them and then possibly getting up a Will-O-Wisp against Urshifu is great. Tauros notably does have more speed than Urshifu, so I can outspeed them and burn them, which is pretty nice. And then we have a Jetpack, which means once I use close combat and have my stats lowered, I will be switched out. And the last Pokemon on the team is Goodra, Hisuian Goodra. This is the set that I used in one of my previous videos, and it is running these 4 moves. To be quite honest, I am not certain about this moveset. It just feels a little weak sometimes. Acid Spray just doesn't really do any damage, but sometimes it can be useful. Flash Cannon sometimes does decent damage depending on the matchup, and then Earthquake does feel like a necessity. And I have like Dragon Tail. I just kind of think like Hisuian Goodra right now, it matches up pretty well against the meta. A few threats in the meta, and it's just really bulky, but I feel like there's probably better defensive threats to use, but I do want to try it out. And Hisuian Goodra, I think, does seem like its stats are pretty varied, so you can probably try out a lot of different builds with it. So that is the team. Let's get to some games and see how it does. All right, interesting team for my opponent. Luckily, they don't have the big 2. The Pokemon I complain about the most, of course, are Chien-Pao and Fluttermane. They do have Dragonite, though. Dragonite's definitely really good in the meta. But another funny thing here is that my opponent actually has Glimmora, which is another Pokemon that I've found to be a little awkward to play against because it can set up toxic spikes if you have it go against a physical attacker. However, I actually think Regieleki looks like a pretty solid lead here. Worst case scenario for me, though, is that they lead with Landorus, which is actually really possible. Now, of course, I know that I do have the Terra Water for Landorus, as I've said, but I would prefer to not burn my Terra right away. I like Kleavor as a lead, but I'm just kind of worried about leading with Kleavor when they have Glimmora and even Cloyster. So I don't know, I'm just a little hesitant about that. And then Dragapult looks pretty solid as well. And then finally, maybe just Cresselia, just because it's so tanky. We'll see. I'm not certain about this, honestly. I kind of feel like I do want to get up Stealth Rock against their team. They have a lot of Pokemon that are kind of weak to it. But I did not bring Kleavor. It's just, Kleavor is a strong Pokemon. It has some matchups where it's really good, but it can also be somewhat awkward in all honesty. So, I don't know. Anyways, they do lead with Dragonite, which I think is pretty interesting here. And I do, of course, lead with my Regieleki. I think I'm just going to start right away with a Volt Switch just to get some damage on their Dragonite. Of course, they could go into... Okay, it looks like they're probably going into Landorus, which is what I was going to say. It looks like they could go in, or I was going to say they could go into Landorus. Of course they do that. Now, this at least gives me information about their team. It tells me that they have Dragonite and Landorus, which is worth something, though it's admittedly, of course, not worth, a lot. But I do think this is a decent opportunity for me to go into Cresselia. Once again, I know that I'm Terra Water, but once again, I would just prefer to not use my Terra this early in the battle, especially when my opponent has a Pokemon like Dragonite and when they might have Pokemon that, are really scary. And they make a good play here. They do go for the U-turn, and that does a ton of damage. They do take Rocky Helmet. One thing about this Cresselia set that I'm a little bit unsure about right now, which, first of all, it looks like Cresselia has fur, which is kind of weird. I wouldn't have thought that. But anyway, yeah, one thing about this Cresselia set is that I'm running Rocky Helmet, which has proven to be really good in certain matchups. There are a lot of physical attackers in the meta. However, of course, it can be awkward as well because it means that we don't have quite as much recovery as we would if we had like a Citrus Berry or Leftovers or something. So Leftovers actually might be the better choice here. They do go for the Magma Storm, and of course that's not going to knock me out, but it does take me pretty low. I did go for Moonlight anyway though, so this is going to recover my health. But because of the Magma Storm, I am locked in now, so it's almost as though my Cresselia is maybe as good as dead at this point. I think I'm just going to Calm Mind, just see what it does. I should be able to live another hit even with the Magma Storm damage, and then probably Moonlight after that. But at the same time, wow, these Heatrans are just hitting every Magma Storm. I'm pretty sure Magma Storm is inaccurate. I think it's like a 70 or 80 accuracy move. But yeah, this is not good for my Cresselia, obviously. So I'm not going to live another hit. I guess there's a chance they miss, but at this point, they're just going to go for something that's 100% accurate, like Flash Cannon. Yeah, they do have Flash Cannon. All right, so we're off to a really rough start here. My opponent has not terastallized, which is pretty important. Because I do have Terra Water on this. Actually, I think that's fine. I don't think I need to go Terra Fighting on Dragapult. Terra Fighting would help me against Heatran, but it would actually be bad against my opponent's other two Pokemon. So I do think this is the moment where I just Terra and go for Terra Water here. It's possible my opponent goes for Terra Grass. Actually, that's something I should have thought about. One common Terra type on Heatran is Grass. And what would be very lucky for my opponent is Grass resists both electric and water. So this is a situation where being Terra Ice would actually really matter over being Terra Water, but we'll see what happens. Okay, they just stay in. They should still survive it though, but we'll see. Regieleki is an awesome Pokemon. I really like it. Wow, they take that really well. That's not good. They go Earth Power. We are Assault Vest, which is funny because we actually still take a good chunk of damage there. I I think I just go Terra Blast. If they switch into Dragonite to resist it, we break their multi-scale there, so I'm kind of okay with that. And of course they don't want to switch into Landorus, but this is just a really rough fight. I guess something that's important in this situation is weakening this Heatran as much as possible so that Dragapult can, you know, help me out against whatever my opponent has left. However, I'm going to take a little bit of a risk here and go Ancient Power with the chance of boosting all of my stats. I don't think that's going to matter too much, to be honest, because the extreme speed, yeah, even if we don't get the stat boosts, but even if we had gotten them, extreme speed on Dragonite would probably be enough to knock me out no matter, you know, whether I'm at +1 defense or not. So they do go into Dragonite, of course. I don't have too many good outs here. I think I'm just going to Thunderbolt because they might Terra. Okay. Yeah, we're probably losing this one. I mean, I don't think there's any chance in the world that they are Terra Dragonite, which means that if I go for Dragon Darts, I am probably not going to knock them out, and then they are going to subsequently knock me out with whatever they have. They don't Terrastalize. Wow. They might still live. Is this weakness policy? What's going on here? I guess they didn't Terrastalize because they wanted to get the weakness policy boost, but that might... that's a close one. So they're just going to knock me out no matter what they go for. They go Thunder Punch, though, which is kind of interesting. Wow, okay. That was kind of weird. I still don't think I can win this fight, or this whole battle, though, right? So we know they have Extreme Speed, we know they have Thunder Punch, they might have Dragon Dance, they possibly have Roost. I don't think I can do anything but just attack them and knock them out here. And then they go into Landorus, and I'm probably going to be losing that matchup. They might even be Choice Scarf Landorus. Notably, I do not get the attack drop with Intimidate because I am Clear Body, so... at least I have that going for me, but I really just can't imagine a way that I can win this battle, right? Yeah, so we have Clear Body there to block that. And then I think this is just the best bet. We go Dragon Darts, and it's not going to be enough. Oh, it's so close. Maybe they misclick and don't... Why did they click Stone Edge? I mean, we lose, but I don't know if they were kind of showing off there or if they misclicked or what, but they could have missed the Stone Edge and we would have ended up winning that battle even though we had no right winning it. But that ended up being extremely close. We literally we lost the battle with like 1 or 2 HP remaining on the opponent. So it was a super close one. And I think it was still fun. You know, I think I put myself in a position where honestly, it didn't go super well for me, especially because I lost my Cresselia early. I think that's probably a reason to not like lead with Cresselia, just because the opponent likely has answers to it. But you know, it was still a fun battle, and it ended up, of course, being very close. So let's see how the next one goes. Battle number 2. My opponent has a really cool team. Now, very notably, we noticed the Rillaboom right away, which very likely has Grassy Surge. And then they have the Hawlucha. Let's see. So I'm just gonna lead Kleavor. And then I think Dragapult looks good. And then I think we need to keep that Hawlucha in mind. So I actually want to bring Cresselia. I'm not sure that's amazing, but we'll see. So they do lead with Rillaboom just as I expected. And I'm going into my Kleavor here, which is shiny, which looks amazing. And I think I'm just going to go X Scissor. I'd love to get off the Stone Axe to get up Stealth Rock. So we get the clean knockout on Rillaboom, which is awesome. And then here, I think I can afford to just go for Stone Axe. And honestly, I think we're going to, well, they are going to Terra here. It depends on their Terra type. Wow, so they're actually Terra flying, and we just one-hit KO with the Stone Axe. So Kleavor is single-handedly destroying this team. And now they go into Flutter Mane, which will easily destroy Kleavor. But, I mean, we have 2 Pokemon remaining, so I'm just going to click Stone Axe, see what happens. And, yeah, we are going to get knocked out here, unsurprisingly. And then I can just go into whichever of my Pokemon I want. They did already Terrastalize, so I don't have any fear of them removing their Ghost-type weakness. So that's just what I'm going to do. I'm just going to go right into Dragapult, go for the Phantom Force, and they're going to take super effective damage from that. Of course, I'm going to be faster than them, unless they're Choice Scarf. They could be Choice Scarfed, but we did not see Booster Energy from them. I guess that's probably the biggest concern with Flutter Mane, is that if they have Booster Energy to boost their speed, then they will be faster than Dragapult. So yeah, we disappear here, and they go Shadow Ball, and then we're just going to come back and get off the Phantom Force, and that should knock them out. So, I mean, I guess I shouldn't, like, you know, count the win before the battle's over, but even if they happen to knock out my Dragapult somehow... Oh, they do have... Wow, is that Focus Sash? Oh my god, so the grassy terrain got them back up to a Focus Sash, so that's pretty funny. So they're going to knock me out probably, but of course, as I was about to say, I do still have my Cresselia, which can still Terrastalize, importantly. Oh, that's so annoying that they're getting the grassy terrain, but I think we should still be fine. I'm just going to go Terra Poison. I should be able to take any hit from them. I am a little bit tempted to go for the Calm Mind to boost the stored power, but I just don't think we need to. I think we can just go Moonblast, and with how low they are on HP, we should be able to knock them out here. But I was expecting the Dragapult to knock them out previously, and that didn't happen, so you never know, right? But of course, we are removing a Ghost-type weakness here, which means Shadow Ball is not going to do that much damage to us, so we should be fine. Yeah, perfect. And that's one of the big reasons why you run Terra Poison on Cresselia. Like, it just makes it, just because it's already one of the bulkiest Pokemon. It has amazing HP, amazing defense, and special defense, and it has Levitate, which means it's immune to ground-type moves. So if you go Terra Poison, you basically just have only one weakness, which is Psychic, and you can take most neutral hits pretty well. Although, in all honesty, in this metagame, with stuff like, again, the Pokemon that I always name that are really strong, you know, you have Chien-Pao, you have Flutter Mane, but you also have Urshifu, which can do critical hits. You know, being super tanky isn't always the best because, you know, sometimes Pokemon still do a ton of damage. But anyways, we still pulled out the win there. That was a fun one. I wasn't really commentating in the beginning. You know, there was kind of a lot going on here, but basically, you know, their plan was to get in the Rillaboom, set up grassy terrain, go into Hawlucha, and get Grassy Seed, which would trigger their Unburden and let them, you know, basically go for acrobatics, and they would basically be faster than everything in the whole game. Honestly, there's actually a new Pokemon that I really want to try out that basically kind of does the same thing, which is actually Sneasler, which is actually a lot more powerful than Hawlucha. It has a higher attack stat, and it's a poison and fighting type, which I think is probably a better typing right now. And it still has access to acrobatics if you want to go that route. So one of the teams that I've been wanting to build around was built around the core of Rillaboom and Sneasler. So expect to see that in future videos, but I guess we can do one more battle here. Why not? And we have the next battle here. And my opponent's team looks really cool. They have Iron Bundle, which is definitely a big threat, but everything else on their team you don't really see too often. They have Lucario, which is cool. They have Talonflame. Tandemaus, which you really never see, and then Garchomp, which used to be very good but isn't anymore. Same with Rotom. I think Rotom's still decent, but you know, the biggest concern here is just kind of like not knowing exactly what my opponent can do. So I like my Regieleki here. It's pretty good against their whole team, except of course the Garchomp, though of course we are Terra Water. Once again, this looks like a situation where Terra Ice would have been better. But I still am tempted to lead with it. However, maybe I just want to lead Kleavor and just get off as much damage as possible with that Focus Sash. Because what I mean is with that Focus Sash, I'm kind of guaranteed to live any hit from them. So I like that. And if we can get up Stealth Rock, that's actually really nice. However, I'm not going to prioritize it. Basically, whatever they lead with, I'm going to try to get off as much damage as possible against whatever it is. Thing is, they could very well lead with Tandemaus, which would... I don't even know if they'd attack me with their... Because they have that multi-hit move. I think it's Population Bomb. I'm running out of time here, so let's just go full offensive here, see what happens. I think going full offensive against their team is not that bad of an idea because we have two Pokemon that are just faster than everything they have. So I do think Garchomp, depending on what their Garchomp set is, Garchomp could be a huge threat because, you know, if we don't Terrastalize Regieleki will have a lot of trouble against Garchomp. And also if it's like Choice Scarf, then it can be really scary against my Dragapult. So they lead Rotom, so one concern here is that they Will-O-Wisp, but this does give me a good opportunity to just Stone Axe, get up those rocks. There's a chance I'm faster than them. I am running max speed, but I am also an Adamant nature, not Jolly, so yeah, look how cool that is, by the way. I love me some Kleavor. Kleavor's pretty good. I actually think if you can utilize Kleavor's strengths, it's a really good Pokemon. So they Volt Switch, which is good to know. Though honestly, that doesn't really tell me whether they're Choice Scarfed or not. I think that definitely means they're invested in speed, because usually Choice Specs Rotoms would run max HP and max special attack, so at least that tells me that they have some speed investment. And they go right into Garchomp, which means they're going to resist the hit, which I guess they probably expected. But this does let me get up those Stealth Rocks, and I'm just going to go ahead and follow this up with a Quick Attack. So that's why it's nice to have Quick Attack with Kleavor. I kind of feel like there's some chance that we go for X-Scissor, but I think it's just safer to go for Quick Attack. I think they're just going to knock me out here. Although if they like Swords Dance, then, yeah, okay, sure. I was going to say if they like Swords Dance, then that's a little awkward because that, you know, means we could have just gone for X-Scissor, but I think that was still the right play. They lose some HP, so that's really good to know that they are Life Orb. And now what? I think we just have to go into Dragapult now. Huh. The question is, what move do I go for? And I think it's going to be Phantom Force. I was going to say they don't have anything that's immune to it, but in fact they do. They have a normal type, which you don't normally see. No pun intended. You know, obviously I could just go Dragon Darts, but I think Steel or Fairy are decently common Terra types on Garchomp. Although, once again, to be fair, you just do not see that much Garchomp anymore, so I don't know what's common on Garchomp these days. They do go Outrage, though. That is going to mean that we are going to get to knock them out with the Phantom Force, I think, right? Unless they switch, I guess. We are going to take Rough Skin and Life Orb damage, so that is not something that we're happy about. Maybe I should have just taken the risk and gone for the Dragon Darts. But we'll see what they do now. Being a Dragon type is really good in the face of Rotom because obviously we resist both of Rotom's stab moves as a Dragon. The downside is if they are Terra Fairy on Rotom, which, you know, Rotom once again is very similar to Garchomp where it used to be very, very good in the meta. Like it was one of the best Pokemon. And commonly it would run Terra Fairy. However, of course, since then the meta has changed so much that at this point, who knows if it commonly runs Terra Fairy or, you know, if it runs something else. But I honestly would say that Fairy is probably still a good choice for Rotom. So that is something I'm going to have to keep in mind with my Dragapult because one wrong click and, you know, Dragapult, that's the downside of Dragapult is I feel like it's very prediction heavy. Like if you make a mistake with it, you know, your Pokemon's dead. Your Dragapult just gets knocked out. So I do think once again, I'm just going to go Phantom Force. Dragon Darts, of course, does more damage. Okay, cool. Again, does more damage, but it's just so risky using a dragon type move into a potential fairy type. They do reveal that they have Shadow Ball, so there's a lot riding on this Phantom Force. If we don't knock them out, we're going to be in a lot of trouble, and we don't knock them out. So they are about to knock us out. I guess one potentially slight upside, I do not live, okay. One upside is that I have not terrestrialized yet, so I can kind of do that when I feel it's necessary. We do have Assault Vest, so, you know, if they are faster than us, it's possible that we take the hit really well. I'm going to possibly do a risky thing here and go for Ancient Power once again with the chance that we can boost our stats. That's pretty much why I have it on my moveset. Nope. It's like a 10% chance, so, you know, it's extremely low, but if it ever happens, it feels amazing. And going into the last Pokemon on their team, it would be awesome to have, you know, +1 and everything. Their last Pokemon is the cute little Tandemaus, and this is going to be an interesting matchup. I am max HP, as I've said, and I should be faster than them, unless they are Choice Scarfed. Look how cute it is. I love that Pokemon. It's one of my favorite Gen 9 Pokemon. And I know it used to be pretty solid in doubles. I don't think it's never really been good in singles. Let's see what this does. Knock him out, knock him out. Yes. All right. I'm sorry. Those things are really cute, but I'm happy to knock them out. I feel like we had a good chance there just because, you know, once again, we are naturally faster than them. So even with 0 speed EVs, and even if they did go for, well, if they went for Population Bomb, I guess it would depend on their item, but I think there was a good chance they would knock us out if they hit all 10 population bombs. So definitely happy that we got off the damage on them. Of course, Tandemaus is not a bulky Pokemon by any stretch, so just firing off that Thunderbolt is, you know, probably enough there. But let's take another quick look at the team. So I don't know why I said it weird like that. Those were the battles with this team. I really like this team a lot, and in particular, I do feel like Dragapult is in a really good spot in the meta right now. To be quite honest, like after playing games with this team and stuff, I'm not certain that this is the right setup with everything, though I do think the team clicks together really well. And, you know, it has a bunch of Pokemon that are, again, are kind of off meta, but are actually pretty good and pretty well positioned right now. So I encourage you to try it out if you're interested. You know, I do think that these Pokemon, again, are pretty good right now. So feel free to try them out. And of course, if you have any suggestions for improvements, let me know, because I love using Dragapult. I love Regieleki. It's one of my favorites. So the ability to kind of like expand on this and build a better team around this group would be great. So thank you very much for watching. Please let me know in the comments what you thought of the video, and also if you'd like to see me use any other Pokemon to try out. You know, as always, as I say in every video, there are so many new Pokemon that I want to try out in this new meta, and I'm constantly building new teams and stuff, so it's very likely the next video will have another new team, although at the same time I'd be happy to reuse one of these teams. So if you want to see me reuse one of my previous teams, maybe even make improvements on them, always let me know. So thank you very much. Hope you have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Like and subscribe.